They talk about the skis, the line, the speed, but none of it works without the ski boot. It's the link between mind and mountain, where feel becomes feedback, where pressure becomes movement. And for that, the boot must be perfect. It needs to be built, sculpted, and customized on each athlete. That's where the art of boot fitting comes in to help us.
Hi there, I'm really happy to have you back. Today, we are diving into one of the most important parts of ski racing, the boot fitting. Let me introduce you Philipp Plank, from Plank Bootfitting in Vipiteno, a true specialist with years of experience working with high-level athletes. Today, he will guide us through the full boot fitting process. Step by step, we'll see how a stock race boot becomes a high-performance tool, tailored to the individual needs of the skier. So yeah, let's start with the insole, the first step in boot fitting, the base that supports the entire foot inside the liner. While most ski boots come with a generic insole, high-level athletes often choose a custom-made insole, molded specifically to match the exact shape of their foot. This creates a perfect contact surface, reducing unwanted movement inside the boot and improving power transmission. Depending on the skier's preferences and needs, different levels of stiffness can be used. There are usually three options: soft, medium, and hard. Most athletes prefer a medium stiffness, often reinforced with a carbon plate in the heel area for added stability and reactivity. Not every athlete needs a custom insole, but for those who do, it can make a big difference in how the boot feels and performs. Finding the right stiffness is personal. The athlete must test different setups and decide what provides the best balance between support and comfort. Let's take a look at how Philipp creates a custom insole, step by step. First, he uses a heated molding platform, which softens and adapts to the foot shape. The athlete steps onto the platform while standing in a proper ski position with knees slightly bent forward, mimicking the posture inside a ski boot. As the foot presses down, the heated material molds to its shape, capturing all the key points of pressure and support. Once the base mold is formed, the insoles are heated and placed on top of the mold. The athlete then steps back onto the platform, allowing the insole to take the exact form of the foot. After cooling down, Philipp trims the edges so the insole fits perfectly inside the liner, matching the original sole in size and shape. Not too wide, not too narrow. This ensures a precise fit, avoiding empty spaces or pressure points, and creating a solid, reactive connection between foot and boot. Nice, let's move on with the second step, the boot board. The boot board is the platform inside the boot shell that sits below the liner and supports the heel and arch. The boot board plays a crucial role in determining the stance and alignment of the skier. It can be modified in height and angle, depending on the athlete's needs and skiing style. Some athletes prefer a higher heel, others prefer a flatter setup. These small changes can significantly affect the posture and how the forces are transmitted into the ski. But there's also an important regulation to follow. The total height from the bottom of the boot to the top of the insole must stay within 43 millimeters, as defined by FIS regulations. That means we need to consider everything in this stack: the lifter under the boot, the shell thickness, the boot board, the liner, and the insole. Adjusting the footboard can help fine-tune this overall height and ensure the boot stays within legal limits. So, Philipp, what else is important to say about the boot boards?
With the boot boards, like the more you load them down, the more contact, like the more pressure you get on the tips. Like it's more or less the same as you can do with the bindings. Like if you go higher in front, gets the tip comes faster, and the opposite way, of course, comes lower. Like if you go higher in front, or if you just leave it like that. My job is here to find out as good as possible what could work, and the next steps like spoilers and maybe about a boot board you can find out with your athletes together.
So yeah, testing and communication are key in this case. And remember, each athlete has different biomechanics and preferences. So this is a step that needs to be done carefully and, ideally, together with a coach or a technician. Communication is key. The more information the boot fitter has about the athlete's skiing, the better he can adapt the boot to his needs. And that's really important also for our next step. The canting adjustment, the process of modifying the lateral angle of the ski boot. This adjustment is about customizing how the boot responds to the skier's technique. By playing with the canting, you can make a boot more or less aggressive. Every athlete needs to understand which angle works best for their body and their style. It's about finding the setup that lets you get the most out of your individual technique. As Philipp explains, the canting angle should always stay within a precise range, between -1 degree and +1 degree. Going beyond that, unless you're correcting for an injury, can make the boot either too aggressive or too passive, and that can quickly become dangerous. Because in boot fitting, even the smallest adjustment can make a huge difference. As Philipp shows us, just a 1 degree change at the base of the boot can shift the knee alignment by nearly a centimeter.
I don't know if you can see it, but like before, the center of the laser was here, and with 1 degree, which is like 1 millimeter on the bottom, here on his height of the knee, let's say, it's already 1 centimeter.
That's why canting needs to be handled with real care. So now that we understand what canting is and how it affects performance, how do we actually adjust the angle of the boot? Well, there are two main ways. First, by grinding the base of the boot to reach the desired lateral angle. Second, by adjusting the upper cuff of the boot using the screws on the outside. In most cases, both methods are used together to fine-tune the setup. It's, once again, a highly individual process. Once the adjustments are made, it's absolutely essential to check that the angles are correct. Philipp personally recommends using precise digital tools for this. He uses an iPad equipped with a camera system that measures the exact canting angle of the boot. This method ensures consistent results over time and avoids the small but critical errors that can happen with manual tools. And there's one last thing Philipp wanted to make sure we didn't miss. Check this out.
I'll just show you how much you can move it, even if you just open these two screws. So of course, during the skiing process, let's say, it could happen sometimes that the canting from the upper cuff is moving. That's why the bottom is more important, of course, than the upper cuff. The upper cuff, even if it's moved for a 0.2 or 3, you can't really feel that actually. That's almost impossible. We made some tries with the World Cup athletes if they really feel it or not.
Did they?
And actually no. See now, it's 1.2. Just with these two screws, and I did not even change this one.
Wow, that's interesting. And now that we have done the canting, there is one final component that needs to be added to the ski boot, and that's the lifter. A piece of plastic fixed directly underneath the sole of the boot. The lifter's main job is to adjust the overall height of the boot, and its thickness can vary to help meet both the athlete's preferences and the official 43 millimeter height limit we saw before. So the concept behind lifters is fairly simple. But there are two things you really need to pay close attention to. First, the lifters that come from the factory are almost never perfect. They always need to be checked carefully, and if they're not neutral, they need to be ground down until they are. Otherwise, they could unintentionally alter the canting we've carefully set up earlier. Second, once you add the lifters to the boots, the height at both the front and back will become too much. That's why it needs to be adjusted by grinding the areas down, so the boot can again fit properly into the bindings. This part is absolutely critical because if it's not done right, it can become dangerous. The binding might not engage correctly, and that's a serious risk. To avoid that, there are strict measurements to follow. The front of the boot must be 19.5 millimeters high, and the back 30.5, with a tolerance of plus or minus 1 millimeter. Great, let's move on with the final step, the shell fitting. Every athlete has a unique foot shape, and racing boots are made of very stiff plastic to maximize performance. Because of this stiffness, the boot must be carefully adapted to avoid pressure points, pain, or inflammation during long sessions on snow. There are two main ways to modify the shell. First, there's the punching technique. This involves heating only the specific area of the shell that needs adjustment very locally so the plastic softens without deforming the entire boot. Then, using a special tool, the fitter pushes the shell outward from the inside, creating more room exactly where the foot needs it. This is usually reserved for more extreme modifications where the shell needs significant reshaping. The second method is grinding the inside of the shell in specific spots. This removes plastic from the inside surface of the boot, creating more space and relieving pressure points caused by the foot's unique anatomy. This technique is typically used for less drastic adjustments. Combining these two approaches allows the boot fitter to tailor the boot precisely, so the athlete can wear it comfortably for longer periods without foot pain or discomfort. Amazing. We've now gone through all the main steps of the boot fitting process, and before wrapping things up, we took the chance to tap into Philipp's experience and asked him a few questions, some curiosities about ski boots that many of us have probably wondered about. So let's start with the first question. Is it possible to make a ski boot stiffer without changing the plastics?
Make this one like stiffer is for me as boot fitter is like impossible. I can make it softer, of course. That's easy. Like you just have to cut this, then of course you flex easier, and then you can go more. Like even here you can just grind the 2 or 3 millimeters, so the flex goes like easier, and you're not stuck. But to make them stiffer, I would say the best solution would be change the buckles that they really close once, like as they did before. Because sometimes it's even just the buckles that they get loose. And you can't really find the connection. But to stiffen the plastic, like as I told you, for me it's impossible. Of course, I could change just the whole thing.
Second question. Do you actually get that much of an advantage by leaning forward with the boot?
The advantage is just till you reach the limit. Like the advantage to being too much forward is of course not good, but they found more or less the right way how it has to be. Of course, I think they were not gonna go even more, because you have the possibility to put the spoilers on the heel. I like on the right side of the liner.
Great to know. Let's move on with the last question. Is it possible to ski the whole day with a race boot?
I have some ski instructors which they prefer to use this one the whole day, the whole season actually. But there are maybe 2 or 3, I know.
And that's it. Thanks to Philipp and his experience, we've seen how much knowledge, precision, and care goes into every single adjustment. I hope this video helped you understand a bit more about how race boots are really built around the athlete. What's the part of boot fitting you found most surprising? Or maybe something you've never thought about before? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one.